guys, it's Jen. This is another episode of Reframing Me, and I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Brubaker. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to my very favorite week of the whole year. Happy Thanksgiving week. I've said it before, I know, but Thanksgiving is my very favorite holiday. It always has been. It just has such a wonderful vibe to it. It's not a ton of stress and pressure like Christmas is. I get to be with the people who I care about the most. To me, it's just all warm and fuzzy. I know that for many of my mom friends who also, like me, who also sent their babies off to college this year, Thanksgiving has an even warmer and fuzzier vibe than ever before because those babies, they are coming home. And for some, it may even be the first time that they've been home, or even maybe the first time you've seen them since move-in those 3 long months ago. So this holiday isn't just about turkey and stuffing. It's a chance to reconnect and to reflect. And mostly, it is a chance for your family system to just feel whole again, to finally feel right. A piece has been missing for so long, right? So for me, obviously, it's been a bit different. I have had my oldest 8 minutes away, so I am lucky enough to have seen him at least once, if not more, each week. This has given me a really interesting perspective to watch his transformation. I've also then gotten to know his roommate and a number of his new friends because they all pop in and out with him. They hang out here on weekends to watch football. My middle and his friends then go to campus to play basketball with them. So I've had the opportunity to watch them over the last few months too. And it really is amazing what a huge growth spurt these kids have in such a short period of time. And I know when I say growth spurt, our minds as moms go to the grow 3 inches a month growth spurts of the past, right? And while it isn't nearly that physical, honestly, though, I do feel like it's probably as dramatic. I even said to my daughter the other day how I can totally imagine that for parents who haven't seen their kids in these few months, it could really be shocking because I have watched it happen week by week. And I am still a bit shocked at who is this person? Because he is not the same kid that I moved into that dorm in August. And he's not. He's totally changed, just like your kids have changed. And not better or worse, just different. But so have we, right? I know that I am different. It's funny, you may remember from last year, if you all have been here for a minute with me, that last year at this time, my boys' football team was in the playoffs. They even made it all the way to the state championship game. Now, this year, again, my middle is still on that team, and they're in the playoffs once again. And I'm watching the senior moms because this is my 1 year off because I had my senior last year, and then I have my senior next year, and then my daughter will be a senior for cheer the year following. So this is my one free year to just kind of sit back and observe. But I'm watching them and I'm remembering how I felt last year. And it's weird to look at how I am now comparatively. I'm different. I've changed. And it's similar that I'm different from how I was in August. So much was unknown back then, right? I didn't know if I was going to be okay with all of it. And yes, I realize how incredibly pathetic that sounds after I just told you he's a whole 8 minutes away. But it's not the mileage that makes the difference in this case, because it was the closing of one chapter and the beginning of the next. It was the transition, the milestone. It was the would I be okay? Would we be okay? And now I know, yes, I would. Yes, I am. Yes, we are all okay. But we're different because we've grown. And he's different because he's grown. So, as some of you anxiously await your college students' arrival home, I thought we could have a conversation about what to expect. How has your freshman changed since move-in day? And how might those changes even make this visit challenging? And we'll also talk about some tips to make the visit as smooth as possible. So let's start with the most obvious question. What has changed since you dropped them off those 3 long months ago? Well, the short answer is a lot. These 3 months, they have been a whirlwind of growth and discovery and navigating their independence and figuring out who they are and learning how to live apart from their family and their friends and their home and basically everything that they have known. They've had to figure out how to make all new friends from different backgrounds. They have had to learn how college actually works, which in practice is a lot different than they ever expected. They found organizations where they felt comfortable and totally fit in, and the ones where they absolutely did not. They have met people from entirely different places and backgrounds than anyone that they ever knew before. They have had no choice but to rely on themselves to be up and out for classes and to stay on top of their work without any helpful reminders from us. And for many, they may also end up being helpful reminders to their new roommates or their new friends. So not only are they taking care of themselves, but they may be playing a bit of that role to others too. They have had to find classes and food and books and probably some tech support. They have been lost, possibly mentally or emotionally, but I can tell you they have definitely been physically lost. Many of them have found the fun side of their newfound freedom, and they have made decisions with partying and hookups that we would rather not think about. And many of them have had those opportunities and chosen to not. But either way, the constant there is that they were on their own to make these very adult decisions and possibly live out the adult consequences. They had expectations about everything about college going in, how much fun they'd have, what the people would be like, what their days would look like, the friends and the fun and the freedom. And some of that has totally been lived up to. And some of it has probably even been a letdown. Maybe it's better than they ever imagined, or maybe it's not. They have worn themselves down. They have been on for 3 solid months. Psychologically, this period is part of a major developmental phase. Now, we have talked before about Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development, and this time has been an important part of that development. As young adults, they are working on their identity formation, and so that means that they're experimenting with their roles and their beliefs and their choices. They have spent these months building a sense of themselves outside of their life at home, outside of the life that they knew, and that life that you knew. And now they're excited to bring that new person home and to show you the person who they are becoming. So, what can you expect that might look like? Well, first, you'll definitely see an increase in independence. They have had no choice but to rely on themselves in ways that they never did before. And you know what? They've made it without anyone looking over their shoulder or anyone guiding them through. They survived. Maybe they all didn't thrive, but they survived. A lot of them probably doubted going in that they even could. But they have gotten used to making decisions without consulting anyone. And whether it's been managing their schedule or figuring out their meals or finding their way around campus or deciding what to do with their free time, they have been practicing their autonomy. Second, they may come home with some new perspectives, especially if they came from a pretty homogeneous background. But even if not, they've still been in an entirely different environment. And that exposure to different people and to different cultures and to ideas has really likely expanded their worldview. So be prepared for them to bring that expanded worldview home. And that may mean questioning or challenging family norms or traditions in ways that they never did before. And sometimes that can be frustrating. It can even make you angry. You may remember back when we talked about secrets to happiness and when we talked about parenting tips. One thing that is always on those lists, don't take it personally. Pick your battles. Be open to their new experiences and their new perspectives. A lot of it is just trying on new things, testing boundaries, knowing so much more than we do. I mean, they are still teenagers after all, right? Just expect it and it won't be quite as irritating. And you also might learn something from them. Third, they might not be quite as in sync with us or as on the same page with us as they always have been. Their priorities have shifted. Their schedules and their habits may just feel out of sync with our family routine. So don't be surprised if they sleep in late or if they seem to have forgotten their old jobs or their old roles. I know that when my son will stop home middle of the week to say hi or have a nap or pick something up or have a protein shake or whatever, I'll ask him to do something. And it's kind of half joking, I know, but that does mean it's half serious too, right? He'll be like, I don't live here. And then he'll look at me and then he'll do it. But there's always that pause before I ask, like, do I? Do I ask? Is he a guest? I mean, I don't ask guests to do things like that. And I'll be like, no, he is not a guest. And then he'll respond that he's a guest. And I'll say, no, you are not a guest. Just go carry in the groceries. Oh, I just mentioned their sleep schedules. I don't want to forget. One thing to expect when they come home is them sleeping and sleeping and sleeping. First, yes, their sleep schedules are probably off from ours. But you know what hasn't been off for like 3 months? Them. They have been on high alert, on like needing to have their personalities on, needing to bring their A game 24/7 for 3 months. They are exhausted. Their social batteries are drained. They've been sleeping in a strange bed, in a strange place, literally with a strange person as a roommate for months. They need that downtime. I know that it is only recent that I have actually had pretty much any interaction with Tobias when he's home, and I am not exaggerating. Prior to, I'd say November, 95% of the time that that boy was home, he was seriously asleep. Not exaggerating one bit. Doesn't matter day or night, he was asleep. They're tired. They're just so very worn out tired. And they will probably come home with a bit of a newfound confidence, or maybe even border on cockiness. They're proud of themselves. They're proud of what they have managed to accomplish, their growth, the abilities that they didn't know that they even had. And that confidence, it might occasionally come across a bit as being arrogant. Remember, just like the irritating trying on different personalities, they're also still figuring out how to balance self-assurance with humility. Now, before we go any farther, okay, I want to talk about attachment theory because I think it fits in good here. At its core, attachment theory, it explains how people seek security and connection in their relationships. It works for all of us, all different relationships, any point in time, but particularly here because your college student might be asserting their independence, but deep down, they still need the safety net of your unconditional love and support. And this attachment, it provides them with the confidence to explore the world and to test out new ideas. And when they come home, they're looking for reassurance from you. They want to know that while they're growing and changing, their place in the family is secure. But at the same time, they also might test those boundaries as kind of a way to affirm that independence. And so, this push pull dynamic that you might feel and see is totally natural. It's their way of like reconciling their need for connection with their desire for autonomy. Okay, so that's how they've changed. But how have we changed? How has the family that they left behind changed? Well, first, let's take a quick step back to remember that we have talked before about our family as a social system. Systems theory tells us that families function as interconnected social systems, with each member of that system playing a specific role and contributing to the overall dynamics and functioning. So we have a boundary around our family unit that to varying degrees lets things come in and things go out of that system. And each of us are a component of our system. And then we are all interconnected and interdependent. So, like everything that one of us does or feels, it impacts the others. Like we all have imaginary bungee cords to connect us. And if one person pulls, the others feel it. If one person shifts, the others, they need to compensate. And our families, we rely on this system to maintain a sense of balance, to meet our emotional needs, and to accomplish our shared goals. So when your college student left, your family system, it had to adjust. When your college student left, your family system, it adjusted. You had to because the system, it needed to go on even without that student there. So the rest of the components had to adjust to compensate. Your family had to adapt. So you can think about this as your family is like a cherry pie. It fills the pie plate, which is like the roles and the responsibilities and just that overall dynamic of the family. And when your child left for college, that pie plate of roles and responsibilities and overall dynamics, it stayed the same. But we took that piece out. And now, if you can imagine cutting out that piece of pie, that pie plate, we still needed to fill those roles and responsibilities and dynamics of the family system. It's just when they moved out, it was like cutting that piece of pie and moving it onto another plate. But we all know what cherry pies are like, right? Because the pie plate stayed the same, that rest of the pie, that gooey cherry filling, well, it had to shift to fill the gap that they left behind. So maybe another sibling took on their chores, or someone else stepped into their role as being the funny one or the peacekeeper. Maybe the relationships adjusted. Maybe the second oldest became the new leader. You had no choice because the overall needs of the system, that pie plate, the needs stayed the same because the system, it had to keep on functioning. But now that slice of pie is back and it's trying to fit that gooey piece of pie back into the pie plate, and it's not neat. What about the pie filling that shifted? What happens to that? You can't just scooch it back into the other 7/8 of the pie or whatever it is. The system adapted. Basic systems theory says that when one component changes, the entire system must recalibrate to find a new balance. This is why their return might feel a bit messy. And then that little piece of pie that's been alone on their individual plate, well, the crust, it may have cracked a little bit. And the filling, of course, it's spread out a bit too. And now it identifies as cake. And it thinks that the rest of the cake is just sitting on that plate with an open spot for them to just slide right back on in. You can put a piece of cherry pie back into the pie, of course, but it's not cake. It's probably not going to be neat because both the pie and the piece of pie, they have had to change. And so you're going to need to be ready for that. Okay, so a couple of the challenges that I think if we understand, it can make this adjustment easier. There are those relational dialectics that we've talked about before: integration and separation, and stability and change. So, relational dialectics are those opposing forces that we all navigate in our relationships. And two of the key dialectics to understand during this visit are integration versus separation and stability versus change. Each of those are two concepts that are on polar opposite ends of the spectrum, but you somehow need to find the exact right balance to keep them both satisfied. So, first is integration versus separation. Now, your college student is straddling two different worlds: their home world and their college world. Their home life, their college life, their home relationships, their college relationships, their home personality, and their college personality. And they are trying to figure out how to integrate their new independent identity with their old role in the family. And at the same time, they may feel the need to assert a separation to show you that they're not the same person who they were in high school. And this tension, it can create some moments of conflict. So, like when they push back on house rules or they seem less engaged in family activities. I have definitely seen this one play out with Tobias because his, of course, is more on a daily basis. But he's been trying to balance college Tobias with home Tobias, his high school friends and his new college friends, his roommate with us, his dorm life with his home life. It's been a balancing act that I've watched him trying to perform. And it's funny because he was home the other day and about to head back. And he even said, he's like, I feel like I'm one of those characters who has like a whole other secret family. That Rocky's his roommate, but he's like, Rocky is like my other family that I need to hurry and get back to. And I totally get it. I see the struggle in his balancing act 100%. Now, the second relational dialectic here is stability versus change. Families thrive on stability. Our traditions and our routines and our shared rituals, they give us a comfort and a consistency. And we like comfort and consistency. Families thrive because of comfort and consistency. And in fact, when families don't have that consistency, like say because of drug or alcohol abuse, or maybe even in divorced families who have two like very different home lives or structures, but if families don't have consistency, they run into a lot of issues because of that chaos. However, even though we love comfort and consistency and predictability, the reality is that change is inevitable. Every person in your family is growing and changing on a daily basis. And so the family needs to allow for that to happen. So it's another set of those polar opposites that you have to manage to find the balance between. Growth and change are important and necessary aspects of life, and especially here, right? Because your student has changed. I mean, they had to, and so has the family system. We also had to. And so the challenge, of course, is finding a balance, maintaining enough stability to keep the family connected while allowing for the growth and the evolution that comes with this new phase. One of the biggest sources of tension during this visit might be a role conflict, a bit of who's who in the family now. Because in a family system, each member typically plays certain roles. Maybe your student was the peacemaker or the leader or the entertainer. And when they left, someone else likely stepped into those roles. And so you have to balance the consistency and the stability of having people in constant roles to know who they are and what their place is, but also allowing for the adaptability and the change of someone leaving and then coming back in. Now that they are coming back, things might feel a bit off. Maybe your college student sees their younger sibling acting as the funny one and kind of feels displaced. Or perhaps they've outgrown the role that they once played and they aren't sure where they fit anymore. And this role conflict is completely normal, but it can lead to misunderstandings or sadness or even minor arguments. So, like maybe they're not quite as helpful as they used to be. Like they do the I don't live here shtick when you ask them to do chores that they used to handle but no longer feel responsible for. Or maybe it's your other kids who now feel territorial about their new roles or jealous of the attention that the returning sibling is receiving. Or maybe you're the one who's struggling. Like maybe you're feeling conflicted about how much to treat your child like an adult versus like your child. There really isn't a particular answer to these questions because it's going to be different from person to person and from family to family. I know it's annoying, right? The answer, I swear, is always, well, it depends. But I can tell you that simply recognizing these dynamics will totally help you to at least be able to navigate them with a great degree of empathy. I can give you some tips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 to be exact. 7 tips to manage your visit that will hopefully be helpful and that will make it go as smoothly as possible. Number 1, make their re-entry into the family and their welcome home warm and gentle. So give them plenty of time to decompress before diving into that forced family fun, that family bonding. And when you're making plans to do things, include them on the plans. Like find out what they would want to do, what they don't want to do, what plans they might have on their own that they want to include. Respect their need for space and let them set the pace for reconnecting with everyone. And recognize their exhaustion and let them sleep. Number 2, encourage open communication. So when you talk to them, ask open-ended questions like, what's been the most surprising part of college, rather than grilling them about, are you going to class or what are your grades like? It'll keep the conversation positive and it'll make it much more inviting to them. Ask about their experience, their classes, their expectations, their new friendships. Show a genuine interest in their new life. And do not ask them if they've chosen a major or decided what they want to be, because I can pretty much guarantee you that they haven't. And I can also promise you that it's okay they haven't. They'll be fine. Number 3, acknowledge and celebrate their growth. They want you to see how much they have matured. They want you to see the things that they're accomplishing. Recognize the ways that they've matured, even if it's as simple as learning how to do laundry or figuring out how to get their books themselves. Celebrate their wins. Big things or small things, a simple, we're so proud of you. We're so proud of who you're becoming. It can totally mean the world to them. Number 4, balance that stability and change. Yes, absolutely keep your family traditions alive. Chances are they have missed home and they are looking forward to those things a lot, but still remain flexible. If they're not up for the full Thanksgiving itinerary, prioritize the moments that matter most. Remind them that they have a place and that they'll always have a place in the family, even as they grow into this new adult identity. Number 5, address any role conflicts directly. If tensions come up over roles, validate everyone's feelings. Acknowledge your students' unique contributions to the family, but also affirm the efforts of their siblings who stepped up in their absence. If you feel like you're doing things wrong or you don't know how to behave, it's okay. Be vulnerable with them. Tell them that you want to do this right. that you want them to come home and you want them to want to be home. But this whole being the mom to an adult thing is new to you, just like being an adult is new to them. So maybe y'all can figure it out together. Number 6, respect their independence. Your freshmen may have grown accustomed to a more independent lifestyle. So give them space and time to adjust back to family life. This may also mean understanding that they may want to see their friends when they're home. Let them, when you're having conversations about what time you want them home and that they need to be home, have it honestly and open with them. Explain to them it's not that you don't trust them. You understand that they are independent and you understand that they don't have rules and curfews and boundaries when they're in college. But explain to them that it's different because you don't know what's going on and you're not sitting waiting for them to come home, and that you want to be able to sleep too. And so you have to set up some kind of mutual respect situation because you want to be able to relax and you want to enjoy their visit home too. And number 7, accept that it's going to be imperfect and it's not going to be what you've imagined, and remind yourself that this isn't about you and that this is all okay because it will still be wonderful. If they want to sleep, it's not because of you. If they want to see their friends, it's not because they don't love you. If your other kids are jealous, or if they are fighting amongst themselves, or if they come home late, or they sleep through the annual viewing of the Thanksgiving Day parade, or they get angry when you ask for their help, or all of a sudden they're vegan, it's all okay. Take a breath, practice the pause. Remember, it's Thanksgiving. So focus on what you are thankful for. Yes, they want to sleep and you want to do something fun together, but they're sleeping in your house, in their bed, where you have wished they'd be for months now. If they question or criticize what you do because they are now so worldly and grown up and they know much better than you do, it's because they're becoming critical thinkers, which is exactly what you wanted them to become. So just be thankful for the parts that are and don't focus on the parts that aren't. Because long term, this visit matters. In this visit, you're starting to lay the foundation for the next stage of your life together. The stage where they are adults, which is a much longer stage than the one we've just graduated from. Thanksgiving is more than just a holiday. It's a time to be grateful for what is, to be grateful for each other. And this year particularly is a chance to nurture your family's bonds in this new transitional stage. Your child is navigating that delicate balance between independence and connection, and your family is adjusting to a whole new rhythm of things. It's not about avoiding conflict or creating a picture-perfect visit. It's about showing up for each other with love and with patience and understanding and gratitude that you have each other to be with, no matter how imperfect you all are. So as you prepare for this visit, embrace the messy but beautiful complexity of it all. Your child is changing. Your family is evolving. And together, you're figuring out this whole new chapter. So just lean into it. Lean into the love and savor the moments. And remember, it's not about a flawless visit. It's about being present with the people you love most. Thank you for joining me today. I am so thankful for you all today and always. I am grateful that you continue to come back and join me on this journey each episode. I hope that you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving full of love and happiness. Find me on socials at Reframing Me everywhere and online at reframing-me.com. And until next time, be well and communicate.